Welcome to the Fixing Your City podcast. Here's George Crandall.
Chapter 3, Public Support. The public will always do the right thing if given good information and the opportunity to influence decision makers. The assumption that a massive public involvement process will provide superior results may not hold up. More does not necessarily mean better. When my consulting firm was working in Santa Fe, a member of the City Council felt that we weren't doing enough to involve the public in a planning process. She believed that the people who attended downtown public information meetings were more likely to support improvements to the downtown than suburban dwellers. She was convinced that suburbanites think differently and would reject the improvements we were proposing. She insisted we make the same presentation we are about to make downtown at a suburban community center on the following Saturday morning. Approximately 150 people attended the downtown evening meeting. We presented 23 concepts that responded to the issues and concerns the public had identified in previous meetings. As is our custom, we provided ballots so the attendees could make their preferences known by checking either a yes or a no or other box. All 23 concepts were listed on the ballot. At the end of our presentation, we asked for comments and questions from the audience. At that point, a few individuals with issues unrelated to the planning process attempted to usurp the meeting. One particularly unruly young woman shouted her concerns, was escorted from the meeting by security personnel. Other members of the audience helped calm the disruptive individuals, and we spent the remainder of the meeting answering questions. Afterwards, the city councilor asked me, "Did anyone like anything?" I had already thumbed through the ballots and knew that most of the concept had received a 90% or better yes vote. In the interest of not wanting to bias the Saturday morning vote by reporting the early downtown results, I decided to keep the results confidential. The Saturday morning public turnout was similar to the downtown meeting. The downtown meeting participants had been mostly business people. The suburban turnout was mostly homeowners and renters. We made the same presentation and handed out the same ballots. The suburban audience was polite and thoughtful, a welcome change from the downtown evening session. After the meeting ended, we compared the voting preferences from the two meetings. The urban and suburban votes were almost identical. This result was not surprising. Whenever we hold parallel public involvement programs to reach different income and cultural groups, whether using mail-in ballots or voting at the meeting, the results are the same. Getting started. Strong public support for any proposed urban improvement project is the foundation on which entire planning process rests. Without a strong base of community supporters, even the best interventions risk never being implemented. Public involvement is a precious commodity that should never be wasted. It is important to recognize that the public has limited attention span, and an extended or complicated public involvement process could jeopardize transformation efforts and discourage public participation. The public will respect a process that is efficient and inclusive. Given good information, the public will always do the right thing. The challenge lies in making complex issues easily understood by non-professionals so that the public will take ownership of the final transformation strategy. Facilitating public contribution to the process requires skill and sensitivity. The first step in putting together an effective process for public involvement is to establish a steering committee and a technical advisory committee. Typical steering committees include representatives from various community interest groups, such as businesses, labor, retail, housing, cultural, and neighborhoods. The committee has responsibility for reviewing the progress of the project and advising the hired consultants on issues that need to be addressed. Committee membership can be as few as a half dozen people or as many as 2 to 3 dozen people. The technical advisory committee should be comprised of representatives from the public agencies that have jurisdiction and responsibilities in the area under study. The typical technical advisory committee membership may include individuals from the Transportation, Water, Sewer, Housing, Planning, and Development Services bureaus. Responsibilities of the technical advisory committee include reviewing project proposals and advising the consultant team on related technical issues. Surprisingly, decision makers, city council members, for example, are often overlooked during the planning process. However, if they are left out of the process, the adoption of a transformation strategy and the support for plan implementation may be compromised. Decision makers should be briefed periodically so that their questions can be answered and their suggestions incorporated into the planning process. It is vital to the overall success of the planning effort that decision makers have their fingerprints on every completed transformation strategy. Likewise, if the public is not enthusiastic about a transformation strategy, it will not be implemented. The essential challenge is to conduct a public involvement program that will generate support from the wider public, from invested agencies, and from public officials and important decision makers, involving the public. A national industry has grown up around the creation and administration of public involvement programs. Public involvement specialists provide an array of sophisticated service designed to elicit and sustain support for projects that impact large numbers of citizens. Unfortunately, watching some of these specialists in action leaves the impression that the issues that need to be addressed are secondary to the task of preventing the public from causing problems for decision makers. On far too many projects, public participation has come to equal public manipulation. Like beer with fewer calories, the quality of the information that public involvement specialists often provide could be labeled light. Frequently, substantive or potentially controversial issues are avoided, and the goal becomes making the public feel good rather than incorporating their concerns in a meaningful way into the planning process. A common form of the light public involvement is the open house. It typically involves inviting the public to a meeting at which information is displayed on tables and walls. People are free to walk around, read the information, and if they have questions, talk to members of the planning team. The public's questions and comments are recorded by the planning team on flip charts or directly onto drawings on display. The open house format is problematic because the public is generally unfamiliar with the subject matter. In the absence of a carefully crafted presentation to educate the public about the issues, the public's ability to respond is limited. Also, most citizens are not accustomed to reading plans and deciphering information from drawings and sketches. Most importantly, there's always a risk that the public's questions and comments are susceptible to multiple interpretations and may be construed by the design team in ways that suit their purposes. The charrette. Another involvement technique for public participation is a charrette. A charrette involves a series of meetings usually held during the day. The goal is to get stakeholders and public activists in one place to discuss a project under consideration in order to develop consensus about potential design solutions. The charrette format is not without its advantages, but tends to work best with a small group of experts who have specialized knowledge the design team needs for its work, rather than with the public at large. As an example, if an academic campus or a medical facility is under design, educators and doctors may have special needs and requirements that the design needs to understand. The charrette format provides an ideal opportunity for the design team to learn about the client's special needs. However, when the charrettes are used with the general public, the design team may receive little usable information and the public's time may be wasted. Consider the following factors when organizing a charrette. Consultants with drawing skills are needed to sketch design solutions suggested by the public. The multi-day format is often not practical for the working public. People who are not able or willing to attend a charrette due to scheduling conflicts still deserve an opportunity to participate in the process, even if in an abbreviated format. Key stakeholders may not be willing to participate in a charrette because they prefer to discuss their ideas with the design team in a confidential setting. Charrettes are expensive. Unfortunately, charrettes have become the refuge for city planners and urban designers, especially those who lack competency in their respective fields. To compensate for shortcomings, some planners choose to rely on public input, which is seldom informed by the intricacies of urban design. All ideas and suggestions are thrown at the wall, so to speak, to see what might stick. This approach is fun for participants, but the outcome usually lacks substance. Charrettes, like open houses, provide light design solutions. Websites. Public agencies use websites to make planning documents available to the public and to provide information about upcoming meetings. Websites have limited effectiveness as a public involvement tool unless planning proposals are accompanied by information to educate the public about why proposals are being considered, feedback materials for quantifying the public's response to planning proposals, staff to prepare materials and maintain the website. The limited public response to online information and the expense associated with preparing educational information and feedback materials should be factored in when considering how best to use the web. Visioning. Visioning is an exercise in which planners ask members of the public to express their dreams and concerns. However, unless there is a clear understanding about how the acquired information will be used and integrated into the planning process, visioning exercises can be a waste of time and money. Visioning is popular with many planners because most people enjoy it and therefore enthusiastic about attending visioning sessions. People generally want to put forth their ideas, aspirations, and desires for the towns and cities they inhabit. But most of the resulting visioning statements tend to be similar and are often interchangeable. Though people everywhere like to think their particular city or town is unique, most people I've found share similar values and aspirations for the future, irrespective of where they happen to live. The typical outcome of visioning exercise is a series of goals and policies that address key issues identified during the process. As worthy as this may be, it is only the first step in the overall planning process. Unless a sound framework plan and a comprehensive set of implementations are also prepared, the vision will lead nowhere. Visioning exercise may be strung out over a period of many months or even years. The question needs to be asked, is this prolonged, expensive visioning process really necessary? One answer can be found by taking a look at what happened in Portland, Oregon, over a period of 20 years. Portland's love affair with visioning. Portland's experience with engaging the public in visioning exercises over the years provides a useful lesson for other communities that may be attracted to the perceived benefits of visioning. Clearly, Portland loves the visioning process. In 24 years, the city produced 5 visions under 4 mayors for a cost of many millions of dollars. The only difference among the 5 visions was in the level of public outreach and the number of people involved. In every case, the visioning process tilled much of the same ground, and the issues and findings were remarkably similar. Nobody will argue that any single aspiration that is in the culmination of a visioning process is a bad thing in itself. Each and every idea is a worthy goal. But the bigger, more important question never got asked. Was spending millions of dollars for for the most expedient way to identify the generalized apple pie and motherhood policies that resulted from them? The answer is simply no. The multiple visions are an indication of a dysfunctional planning profession. It was in conjunction with the 1988 plan that Portland first began using the visioning technique. The city's previous plan from 1972 had been produced without a public visioning process and was regarded as highly successful. Nevertheless, the assumption was that a visioning process, the next plan would be even better. 1988, the central plan, Vision 1. A public relations consultant was hired to promote the public outreach, theming it, Giving Us Your Dreams. Everyone in Portland was invited to respond, including children. At the beginning of the process, a staff member for the city's planning bureau came by my office to talk about the visioning process. I asked how the information was going to be collected, collated, and used. My visitor stared at me blankly and said, "We're only going to ask the people's dreams for the city," and that is unfortunately what happened. The Planning Bureau received about 10,000 responses. Among the more colorful suggestions was an idea to run cable cars from the tops of tall buildings down to the waterfront, something a group of children had come up with. Other science fiction scenarios were worthy of a Star Wars episode. But once reality took hold, the question I had posed to my Planning Bureau visitor quickly emerged. What do we do with all this information? How do we organize it? A good faith effort was undertaken to categorize all the ideas and information that had flooded in, but after hundreds of hours of work, the many dreams and ideas for Portland's future turned out to be of very little use. 1991, Portland Future Focus, Vision 2. Not long after, in 1989, Mayor Bud Clark launched another visioning process, time known as Portland Future Focus. It employed a somewhat different methodology. The mayor and his staff handpicked 55 community leaders to research trends and then create a future vision for the city. Various techniques were used to involve the public, including a survey of community values, a speakers bureau, a series of major public policy meetings, open working group meetings, and a newsletter. Policies were developed for each of the following sectors: crime, diversity, the economy, education, growth management, and leadership. The final product, called a strategic plan, was completed in 1991. The effort involved more than 25,000 hours of volunteer time. It was a policy document without a single drawing or plan to relate to Portland. 1999, Central Portland's 25-year vision. Vision 3, that was Vision 3. Vera Katz followed Bud Clark as mayor. She initiated another ambitious visioning process, Central Portland's 25-year vision. The results of that vision exercise are summarized under 5 main headings: America's best schools, a healthy river that centers our community, complete neighborhoods, a prosperous region of creativity and imagination, an urban environment that defines livability. 2007, Vision 4, titled the 2030 Vision. 6 years on, yet another mayor, Tom Potter, launched his version of the visioning process. Potter's project lasted 31 months and entailed 3 phases. The first phase, the planning phase, took 9 months to complete. The engagement phase lasted 15 months, and the final phase, the analysis phase, was completed over a period of 7 months. The budget for this huge undertaking was over $1.5 million, though insiders say the true cost may have been double that amount. City agencies received at least 13,000 response sheets from the public at an average cost of $115 per response. The final report, published in 2009, organized the vision statement under another set of 5 headings: Build Portland, Economic Portland, Environmental Portland, Learning Portland, Social Portland. City staff, together with the help of more than 380 people and organization, produced the final document. The heftier report garnered national attention when it won the American Planning Association or APA Award in 2009. 2012, Vision 5, the Portland Plan. In 2009, another mayor, Sam Adams, announced his preparations for a strategic plan that would focus on the next 25 years of Portland's growth. The Portland Plan, as it was officially known, was adopted in 2012 and was the result of more than 2 years of research, dozens of workshops and informational fairs, hundreds of meetings with community groups, and more than 20,000 comments from local residents, businesses, and nonprofit organizations. The stated intent of the Portland Plan was to identify and set policies and strategies at 3 main areas: thriving educated youth, facilities and programs that meet 21st century challenges and opportunities, a healthy, connected city. Recent plans. After 5 years of work, Portland adopted the 2035 Comprehensive Plan. It is a long-range land use and public facilities investment plan to guide future growth and physical development of the city.
Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe to get updates for future chapters.